You know what? Boy, you gonna give me five.
You getting ready to tell him something, wasn't you?
I just said something. Like you gonna get me straight up fired up in here.
Man,
oh
call
my
me traffic
God.
control, man. I was waving you in. You wasn't listening.
You know what? Oh my God. And my head is shining to the end of time. Good morning. Good morning. What's happening, family? Welcome to the show. It is Michelle Bryant here, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. You are listening to Say Something Real and Real Talk. Yeah, okay, I'm shining like new money up in here.
No, we didn't adjusted everything we can adjust.
Look, it's okay. It's okay. It is what it is.
It looks good on you, baby. It looks good on you.
I'll deal with it later.
Looks good on you.
You know what? I can't with y'all. But let me say good morning to the special brothers in the studio.
Special.
You didn't know?
You didn't know. Somebody shine the light
I'm
on.
just saying, you didn't know. What's up, Mr. Ryder? How you doing this morning, sir?
Well, woman,
You good?
today is Monday. At least what my phone say.
Okay. We in agreement?
He probably got an argument for it.
I just want to say, are we in agreement? Or
You know, I just believe that everything ain't what it seems.
now you get no argument there. Get no argument there.
Yeah, that's
But
just
can we be in
what I
agreement
believe.
that today is Monday?
But I can be in agreement that you look mighty swelled over there.
But can we be in agreement that today is Monday?
That's what y'all say.
Okay, look, you know what? We're gonna have to just accept that. We're gonna have to just take that and roll with it. Because we know it could be so much more challenging when it comes to you. So
well, woman,
don't do that. How was your weekend though?
My weekend was great.
Why do you go up in your voice like that?
He sound like a preacher, don't he? He can't help it. He can't help it.
My weekend was
well, woman. Well, you know,
Well, in the book of Isaiah,
it's that winding up, you know, when you
we getting ready to rev on out. And you know,
all you need is a face towel.
Right? Give me one of them towels to wipe my face.
face.
No, but seriously, this weekend it was actually great.
Was it busy?
Yeah, I was busy minding my business, and
Well,
you know that take a lot. You know,
That's always
you know,
good.
I actually figured out this thing called life.
Oh,
You know, I take 6 months to mind my business and 6 months to leave other folks' business alone. You'll make it through the year.
nice formula.
So that's my,
that's a really good formula.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do.
I think that we need to employ that.
Yeah,
I think the Williams brothers
no, brother.
gave him that formula.
That's sweep around your own front door.
Right.
That had nothing to do with
But
6
he do
months.
say in that there's a line in there. He said you take 6 months. The same thing you just said. He does say
Well,
that
pull it
himself.
up.
You plagiarizing?
I swear to
Yes,
God.
that's what he's
Melania
doing.
Trump. You
Pull
in
it
here
up. Hold
plagiarizing?
on. Pull it up.
You.
Pull it up, Debo. I want to hear that in that song because I done played that song a whole lot of times.
Well, I mean,
And I've never heard them say, you take 6 months to mind my business.
What's the
6
name of
months
the
to leave
song?
it.
Pull it up.
What's the
Pull it
name
up.
of it?
Pull it up.
What's the name of it?
Sweep around your own front door.
Sweet.
Before you try to sweep around mine.
So you say he take 6
Yes,
months to mind
yes,
my
sir, he
business,
does.
6 months to leave other folks' business alone.
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yes, he does.
Let me see. I pulled it up.
I ain't never heard it. You know.
Oh, yeah. It's in there.
Well, you know, people say sweep around your own front door. That don't mean you stealing it from.
I see something about backstabbers.
Uh huh.
Oh, here it is.
So what he said?
Sweep around mine. You need to do is take 6 months, sweep around your own front door, and take 6 months to leave other folks alone.
Same
See?
thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
No, I didn't say that.
Jermaine,
I got him.
I didn't say that one. But again, I never said. Hold on. I never said I was the creator of these words.
Melania.
You know,
I'm moving past you.
these
At his
words.
best.
These words been around
Melania.
for
The
years.
plagiarizer.
know.
But what I'm saying
Your
is,
word
Let's
is
change it.
bond.
A
but what
word
I'm
or
saying,
two.
but listen.
Your word is bond.
But what I'm saying
we
is,
know, Melania.
I never said I was the creator.
But Melania,
I just took on the whole ideal of 6 months of minding your business, which I do very well.
hey, Debo, how you doing this morning?
I'm great,
You
Michelle.
did.
I was
I'm
wondering
just
how
saying,
much
'Cause
longer
I
we
came
were going
with
to have
this
to
dude, man.
endure. Right.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Feeling really, really wholesome and
Not wholesome.
Yeah, went to church twice yesterday.
What?
Why? Why you go to church twice?
Well, because he needed a double portion. Oh shit! Oh my.
This dude right here.
He needed a double.
Portion.
Why would you ever need a double?
Yes,
portion?
sir.
What's wrong?
Well, I probably did need a double.
What's wrong with you that you need a double portion?
He needed a double portion of that ghost.
Had a great time though. After leaving church, and then I went to 2 parties. So
wait a minute. So how you go get a double portion of the Holy Ghost and then go spill it all away with the Lord?
they were birthday
I was
parties.
gonna say you gotta ask what kind of parties were.
Yeah, but if Debo show up at a party,
was the parties at the house or at the club?
No, they was at 2 different clubs.
See, there you go. Hey, how you gonna have a double
No.
portion?
You must understand. One was for
you must
Luscious Lisa.
What difference does it make who it was for?
One of our avid listeners who
difference
supports
does
us
it
and
make
everything
who
that we
it
do.
was
So I would be
for?
totally remiss if I did not.
So listen,
At
why
least
would
show
you
up and
just
put
say?
something in the birthday
But
glass.
why would you just say Lisa's? Because when you say Luscious Lisa, it make you think of hey, there's a whole lot of carrying on
That's
going
what
on.
our listeners know her as.
Oh, as Luscious.
Lisa. Yeah, that's what she calls in as.
Luscious Lisa.
Michelle, you remember her, don't you?
I do remember.
She won our grand prize one year.
I get it, but you telling the folks that don't know Luscious.
Who else birthday party did you go to?
I also went to Chandra Staples' birthday party yesterday.
He went to
Chandra Staples had a birthday party yesterday?
Yes, she did at a little private facility called The Building.
Oh my God, I did see that.
Yeah, so we were there with her
Oh,
and
Chandra,
so many
sorry.
Sandra
I
Silk.
couldn't come anyway. But
Even
I'm
got a
sorry.
chance to meet Miss Jones. What is her first name again? Does the news.
Mrs. Jones.
Does the news.
She does the news?
Yeah, on Channel 6, Fox 6.
You talking about
Kim Jones?
Gerald Jones?
No. Her name is, jeez, what is her first name? It's in my phone, but in any case, she,
You talking about Kim Porterfield?
no, she was there from Channel 6. She's like a weekend.
Shannon?
No, her first name's not Shannon.
I don't know who it is.
No, everybody in the room knew who she was. Chris Levy was there, of course. The Gospel Angel came by. Just a lot of
I'm
who's
so mad
who's
'cause you
and
sure invited me.
Mike Mayo and
Mike Mayo.
the Johnson.
Oh my God, I see Mike Mayo in a honey.
Representative Johnson, he was down there. What is he? He's a
Supervisor.
Supervisor. It just just so many. So kind of a who's who, if you will. Minus Michelle because she didn't come. But in any case, great time, great weekend. A lot of elbow rubbing and stuff like that. But I'm gonna get her name while we proceed on. Thank you so much for asking how my weekend was. Personal invitation. In fact, my wife's birthday party. I'm giving her a surprise birthday party.
Wait, hold on.
I'm giving my wife a surprise party at the same place.
This cat just said he giving a surprise party.
Yes, he did. He did say that on the air. And he know his wife listened to the
She's not listening right now. She got the baby, and I know that baby got her. Whoa, out. That's Jersey.
The new baby.
Yeah, Miss Jersey.
How is she doing, by the way?
She's good. She's good.
And your
Bria Jones. That's her name. Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, yeah.
Bria Jones.
I don't watch the news. I still don't know who Bria is.
I know exactly. Is she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wear braids.
Yeah. Black chick.
Full figured. Just a really sweet person, though. And again, just had a great time.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that all went well. Likewise, on my end, it was a busy weekend. But I will tell y'all, last night I was talking to somebody and they said, did you hear what happened over on 27th and Capitol? I was like, what now? A lady was under the bus.
What?
On 27th and Capitol.
Wait, underneath
the bus. And it looked like the bus had hit her. But once the story started to unfold, the lady crawled up under the bus. She was overheard saying that somebody was trying to kill her.
Oh.
And literally you could see her feet scooting up under a running city bus. And I'm talking about she was up under the bus in such a manner you could only see her feet. You couldn't even see only in Milwaukee.
What?
And then like that overtook everything else that had going on this weekend. Cause I was like, so the bus didn't hit her? She crawled up under the bus.
But she didn't do a good job of hiding because
No,
you can still see her feet.
No, she was, yeah. she did.
You see her feet.
Because people like had to get down to get under there to see.
Unbelievable.
So
you
the
know
whole
how scared I would be to crawl up under a dang city bus?
she made sure some people saw her get up under there,
Dude, I'm just saying.
so that bus driver wouldn't
this
pull off.
sister was I just think the sister was having a mental health breakdown.
Fleta Caro, I hope I'm saying it right. Fleta Caro said, "Not funny."
I'm just saying.
We could be dealing with that. Could be mental illness.
Look, you don't get no argument from me, and nobody's laughing at the actual, severity of the moment. But I'm sorry.
I am.
When you hear somebody literally intentionally called the under a bus,
It is funny.
like, man, oh my God.
I could think of a much better place to hide than under a running bus.
It just literally takes the cake. I mean, it was too much, y'all. It was too much. So anyway, yeah, that kind of encapsulated a lot of my weekend. But I'll tell you, it is in line with all the other interesting things that we have seen happening around the state, the country. In addition, right now, the world. You couldn't get up this morning. I woke up at 3:30 and I sleep with my television on. So I saw Trump over in Israel and the whole big shebang in relationship to the hostages being released. And I think now all of the living hostages have been released and they are going to be transferring the body of the remaining, I think it's 24 or 28 deceased hostages to their families at some point later today. So we'll what's wrong with you?
Somebody typed it. She was on the bus bike rack.
She was originally on the bike rack. See, I'm telling y'all, like for the people who like don't see the humor.
And the attorney is sitting there going, "What the hell are they talking about?"
It was a little crazy. We had a woman on 27th and Capitol yesterday who had some type of crisis, and so she sought shelter underneath the bus.
She said someone was trying to kill her.
Yes.
So I'll get on the front of the bus on the bike rack.
So
if the person don't kill him, the bus definitely will.
I mean, it was just such a crazy situation. But let me
Michelle, can I ask this right quick?
Yeah.
Somebody typed in, they want to know where Jermaine purchased that great looking gray suit.
Gray suit?
Did you have on a gray
suit?
suit?
I had a gray suit on yesterday.
Okay, somebody saw you.
Oh, well, call me 777-9311. And I'll make sure I give you exactly where I got the suit from.
Y'all know black people don't tell y'all where they got their clothes
exactly.
from. Y'all already know it.
777-9311.
Somebody be like, "Oh, that's a hot outfit. Where you get that from?" I can't remember.
From Jupiter.
Because you cannot show up in my outfit.
Right,
so
right.
Whoever asks.
Especially if I think it looks good on me.
Exactly. We not
don't want it to look good on you.
We're not telling where we got our clothes from. But all right, let me make a transition real quick. Caller, I see you, but I'm not gonna be able to take your call right now. I got a guest that has come into the studio. We are doing the scales of justice this morning with none other than attorney Mark Thompson. How you doing this morning, Mark?
Good morning.
You good?
The Packers won.
Yeah.
So I'm really good.
Okay.
And the Brewers won.
Yes.
And I'm really, really good.
Yeah, I got caught up in the traffic on Saturday coming from Brookfield back into the city. And it was not clicking for me that the Brewers were playing home.
It wasn't clicking for you?
No,
I thought you lived in Milwaukee.
I do, and I followed, but I just wasn't there.
Was that inappropriate for me to say?
It was, and I just ignored it and went on past it.
I noticed that because I was like, ouch.
Yeah. Oh, I heard it.
Ouch. Am I messing with Michelle?
You see my maturity here. I just rolled on past it. But yeah, and I'm like, and I literally called a friend and said, "Is there something going on? Where are all these people coming from?" And it was like out of state plates, Indiana, Illinois, and then of course Wisconsin, from everywhere. And then finally, she said, the Brewers are playing. Oh, okay.
You know, that was Game 5.
I do know.
And
decisive
it was
game
the
5.
final sunset on the Chicago Cubs 2025.
Yeah, it's a wrap. I was telling somebody though, the very first time I ever came to Milwaukee was because I came in 1982 during the series, and I actually literally only came to see the game in '82. So I'm like, I've been waiting since '82.
Well, you only have 4 more games to wait,
I
and
see.
then we'll
I'm
be
hoping.
back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, so
I mean,
yes,
tonight is it. There's got to be baseball fans out there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
For
Yeah.
sure. For
You
sure.
better believe it.
And I actually started as a young kid watching at my grandfather's knee, but he was in Birmingham, so the Atlanta Braves was our team. And then just understanding the connection between the Braves and Milwaukee made it even more sweet when I moved here. But how you? So you went to the Packer game? You got to go in person? How was that?
I had a very unusual weekend, right?
Really?
So, yeah, I took my grandsons to the Brewers Cubs game,
Whoa.
and then my brother-in-law up in De Pere got me to the Packer game yesterday. So it's a lot of sports for this lawyer.
And you're not hoarse. You're still able to talk to us.
I know I
this
had to do
morning.
the show this morning, so
So
my wife had to
you
do
just-
all the cheering.
You just shook your pom pom. I was like, yay.
No, I didn't
Well-
have the pom poms. I'm sorry. I missed that one.
You know what? I'm not with you this morning, Mark. I'm just gonna
It's all right.
I'm just ignoring all
You're
your
supposed to
foolishness
bury me.
this
You're supposed
morning.
to bury me.
I'm ignoring all your foolishness this morning.
That's we're starting a little early.
Yeah,
so.
I see. Well, look, I'm glad to have you in this morning. Do me a favor, remind folks of the law firm that you are with, sir, because I know that people will ask as the conversation progresses, and let them know what type of law you practice or the types of cases you take. But then I actually want to pick your brain about something that outside of that purview just a little bit, but we'll get into it. So remind folks where you're from.
Right. So my law firm is Gingras, Thompson, and Wachs. We have offices Milwaukee, Madison, Eau Claire. We do a small office out of Waukesha. We handle cases. It's a funny business we're in because we never want our clients to come back. And that means something bad happens. You're hurt by a drunk driver, a reckless driver, a bad semi driver. You happen to go into the ER room where you see a doctor and there's medical malpractice. You're walking down the street. You're a young African American male and you're running a turkey to your neighbors for Christmas, and the police stop you, and your civil rights are violated. So those are the human beings that we represent, people that are hurt, small injuries, large injuries, just in the middle of a big medical malpractice case where a young man's severe traumatic brain injuries, trying to do something for him and his mom who's, takes care of him. So that's the nature of our business. And so when you walk into my office and you're hurt, when you leave, and, we do everything we can. And when you leave, we get you full value for your injuries and your pain and suffering. But we only want to see you then socially after that, right? It's a really, really, really crazy business. We only get paid if we win. And, not many people are willing to just get paid only when you win. And in a business where you never want that person to come back, right? McDonald's wants you 10 times a day. I never want to see my people, my clients hurt.
I mean, because typically it's at a person's worst. Something really awful is happening.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't want to wish that on anybody ever again. So it's,
That's an interesting company slogan. After we take care of you, we don't ever want to see you again.
No, but I mean,
Unless
people
it's
don't really. I
socially.
mean, it's really,
But it's
really,
true. Yeah.
it's a very, very, from a business point of view, it's really sort of ironic.
So let me just ask this question real quick before we get into our topic this morning. Have you ever had that case that when it was over, you were completely wiped out because of either the severity of the case or the outcome? Because we never think about, like, I was watching something on Thurgood Marshall, and how there was an effort to lynch him when he was in town to represent a case. And he talked about, the people rallying. They had gotten wind of what was about to happen to him, and they got him, to safety. And I just started kind of walking through the toll that it took on him to practice the type of law that he did, but also the reward. But there was that give and take. And you never think about, when you see some of these high profile cases, like I'm watching Attorney Ben Crump now, and unfortunately, it seems like he is a lawyer du jour for so many civil rights cases involving African Americans. And I was with him in Martha's Vineyard a year ago, and while he was talking, I was just watching his face. And even though there was an element of him that looked tired, that, like, you take on so much. And we never think about the people who hear all this information. You have to study it from every angle. Is it possible to remain clinical, while you are doing this? So I guess I just wondered, since you were talking about the fact that I don't ever want to see people again, have you had, and not any details, but, like, have you had those moments when you just walk away, like, shaking your head, like, I need a vacation?
I think I think lawyers, like everybody, there are always moments where you walk away shaking your head, right? But at the I mean, for me personally, I love what I do, and so you get into it, and you're in the middle of it, and you're focused, and you have to just stay concentrated. And so, I don't know what it was in my childhood, but I've been able to compartmentalize those kinds of things. So I mean, fortunately for me, I haven't been threatened to be lynched, right? But I have been in the middle of some civil rights cases, on some what I call bad shootings, unlawful, unconstitutional shootings. One morning there was a shotgun shell in my parking spot, right? So that wasn't accidental. And you come out of a meeting and there's a police squad sitting next to you with two officers that you'd taken their depositions, a few days before. How you doing, counselor? It's like, well, good to see you, gentlemen. So, there is, always that, but look, I mean, I think Milwaukee police, I mean, we've been fortunate that there really hasn't been there's always going to be some corruption, but there are some departments around the country that there's real corruption in the departments and a real criminal element. And, my experience over the last quarter century in Milwaukee is that, and I have a lot of respect for hardworking police officers. I mean, it's dangerous out there.
Right.
And, all I say is that you have to practice constitutional policing. You cannot be an armed force in our city. You have to respect people, and people have to respect people back. So,
well,
I don't know if that answers it, but
it does. I just know, like, and I've been thinking about it, I guess, myself personally, the work that Senator Taylor and I did in the Senate. You you are usually working with people again when things are not going well, and in the fight, you are the adrenaline, you fighting, and then when it's finally over, whether you've been successful or not, you kind of sit back and you think about it all and like, whoa, that was deep, that was crazy. So I just wondered, again, because lawyers are either the good or the bad guy, depending on the side that you're on.
Well, the other
can
side
you
always
actually
views
turn the
us
air
as the
on? It's
bad
hot in
guy.
here. Yes. So that there's that. But let me ask a question. Even though I know I got you in here as an attorney, you and I tend to talk politics. We tend to talk about the things we see going on around us, and I have not had a whole lot of time on the show yet, and I think it's been intentional that I have not really talked a lot about the gubernatorial race in the state. But we know there's a lot at stake. You got your eyes on it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a huge issue for every person in the state. Who is going to take over, the governor's seat? So, I think we just texted last night, right?
Right.
And I thought about this because the text was, "Are we talking about the Republican candidates?" And I said, "I really don't care." And then I thought about it a little bit on my way driving in here this morning, and I said I should care to the extent that Tiffany's running, and Tiffany represents the MAGA, and before he announced, he scrubbed his web page as if he isn't
a known entity.
Hello. And so I thought I should shout that out. And
okay. But no, go ahead, finish your thought.
My thought is, and this is all I'll have to say, the Republican Party is no longer the Republican Party of Tommy Thompson, President Eisenhower, even Nixon. I thought Nixon was a crook. Nixon could not get elected as a Republican in today's world, right?
No.
I mean, he left because he got caught on a little crime, right? A little crime.
And I mean, even, and we got to take a break, but I even think about like how Paul Ryan, who actually was fairly well respected on both sides of the aisle. People thought he was even killed, even though individual policies you didn't necessarily jive with, but he was respectful. He was somebody that, you could sit down and you could debate the issue back and forth. And then, like today, Paul Ryan, my God, he couldn't be in the Republican
Now,
Party.
he respected the Constitution
Right.
and elections.
Right.
And the modern, it's just the MAGA party. It's Trump's party. They only are concerned about protecting billionaires and themselves. And, and that's why Tiffany is important. If you're in the city or if you're out in the countryside, his tariffs now with China, I mean, Wisconsin soybean farmers are not going to have a market for their soybeans.
They already, they've already kind of clearly indicated, because the amount of business that they did with China, 40%, that markets have been closed off to them because of the tariffs.
China just said no. We're going to go. We're going to go to Venezuela and buy our beans elsewhere.
And they're not coming back.
And this crazy look. Just say it. Trump, Miller, Holman. These people are just white nationalists, and they're. Look at. I mean, they're threatening armed invasions of L.A., Chicago, and they're coming to Milwaukee soon. So let's go back to Tiffany. That's Tiffany's group.
So let's do this. Let's take a quick break,
and then we'll talk about who there may
the other side
win
of
that. There you go. The optimist side.
All right. All right, y'all. So let me take a quick break. Michelle Bryant, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM, talking to attorney Mark Thompson, but we talking politics for a second this morning. And make no mistake, there's not a political conversation I have that's not related to the law, because the folks that you get in everything from, I remember capping what a wrongfully incarcerated person could get by way of compensation. In Wisconsin, it is $5,000 per year. You were wrongfully incarcerated, you can get $5,000 a year, up to 5 years, even if you did 30 years in prison. And they find out that the police or somebody framed you and you were wrongfully convicted, 30 years of your life. Wisconsin, because of who we had in the legislature, capped compensation at $25,000 or $5,000 a year, up to 5 years. It matters who gets into office. We'll be right back, y'all. Family, welcome back to the show. Taking a little bit of time this morning to talk to attorney Mark Thompson, the show segment, The Scales of Justice, and the fact that when we think about the law, always because of the lens that I worked through it when I worked in the state capitol, understanding the role that the legislature and even the governor has to play in the laws that are formulated and made, that are voted for or vetoed down, that impact us in this state. And so we have not talked at great length about the candidates that are running for governor. I think we have 5 entrants now on the Democratic side of the aisle. I don't think we've had any independents announced yet. I'll go back and do a quick cursory review real quick just to see. And then there are 2 candidates on the Republican side of the aisle. One which was mentioned by Attorney Watts. I'm sorry, I can't even get it out. Attorney Thompson is none other than Tom Tiffany, U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany, but also on the Republican side of the aisle, Washington County Executive Josh Showman is also running. He's announced his candidacy. But on the Democratic side of the aisle, I have talked about the fact that right out the gate, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez got in, and then now others have joined. County Executive David Crawley made his intentions known early, and then finally pulled the trigger on an official announcement. State Senator Kel DeRoy's, State Representative Francesca Hong, whose profanity-laced introductory text messages blew me away. I was like, what is this? Missy Hughes, former head of WEDC, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation under the Evers administration. And then someone by the name of Ryan Strand. He is the beer vendor. He is the beer vendor that folks have seen out at Brewer Park. And so in talking about these different candidates, looking at their platforms, you know, what we can expect, because you talked about on the Tiffany side of the aisle, there's this effort now to go in, scrub websites, try to put out a presentation of, you know, I don't know, balance or whatever, talking about schools. But if we look on the Democratic side of the aisle, I guess before I begin to count, and I talked a little bit, I think last week with viewers or listeners about how I saw some of the candidates, but I'm interested as an attorney watching this whole thing play out. Any thoughts you may have, Mark?
You know, to me, I come at these elections first as just, you know, a citizen with family, kids, and grandkids. You know, my grandson is up the street at Rufus King right now. Mm-hmm. Right. So what does this election mean to them? And I think, and that's, I'm really glad you brought this up today, because what are the principles the Democrats are going to fight for? What are they going to deliver for the people on the street? And so I think the question is, what do we as people insist on from our candidates? On what are you going to do?
Because I think far too often we will get that platform from candidates and they'll say, I care about education and this, I care about healthcare, I care about, you know, employment or job creation, but not nearly enough are constituents and residents driving these conversations. We're being talked that. People are trying to see if they have a beat on what it is we care about. A few, you know, straw polls or, you know, some phone calls getting made, talk to 100 voters. This is what they're saying. And people just take it and run with it. But are we as individuals in this state and part of this nation actually looking at what we need? Because I'm looking up the street at Illinois and the National Guard coming in and Pritzker, you know, J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, fighting back vigorously. Like, no, you're not going to come in here and run over our people. I'm looking at the mayor in that town and what they have, you know, tried to do to curtail some of this. So that role of leadership becomes critical. But do we have a full grasp as individuals that have to elect these people what it is we think we need to see? So when you think about, and you just mentioned, I'm making some of these decisions with that grandson in mind and the future that I'm leaving this young man. What are some of the things you're paying attention to, Mark?
So I think the fact that you mentioned how is the governor going to handle Trump when he comes?
And he is coming.
He's been here.
Yeah, but
right?
I mean, like, I
mean, he's been
believe
here. I mean, I know we've talked about this a little bit. He was here loud and clear when they grabbed Judge Hannah Dugan out of the courtroom. I mean, they put their stamp on, said they're coming, they're just coming back. They just got to get lined up. I mean, they were just up in Manitowoc grabbing, right, dairy workers.
Right.
So what are the issues? Are you going to protect farmers and make sure that they have markets for their soybeans? Are you going to protect farmers and say we have to have a national immigration reform, even though that's not a governor's right, but the governor has to advocate? We need immigration reform that allows Mexicans, where primarily Mexicans, that are milking our cows around the state. What are you saying about that? I mean, you just can't come in. I mean, we should have an immigration reform. And that's directly tied to me, this attack on the African-American community and people of color.
I was going to say, because when you look at DEI, and so I was just paying attention down in Georgia, in Atlanta, the Trump administration threatened the city of Atlanta, who actually runs their airport. Hartsfield Atlanta Airport is run by the city here. Our airport is run by the county. And they said, if you don't go back and scrub DEI considerations from the way you do business, you won't get federal dollars. And the mayor of Atlanta said, keep your money. We'll figure it out. Corporations rallied around the mayor in Atlanta to say, we support that, because look at where we are. And that's the thing that always worried me, is how will people respond when we are attacked? One of the biggest knocks Democrats have been kind of receiving nationally and in some cases locally is that there's not been enough of a fight. We have seen people either capitulate, bend, put up very little resistance because dollars were involved. And so that is something that I know that as an African American, I'm paying attention to. How many people are just going to roll over when they say, if you have any programs that look at increasing minority internships, which we do at the state. We have programs that are specifically about bringing groups of kids of color into roles that traditionally they're very underrepresented in. So what does that mean when they come knocking and say, we're going to take away federal dollars if you don't do that? That's just one thing I have on my radar.
Now, I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's a central, crucial thing here. If we are going to continue to try to get to a more perfect union, if we are really, as a people, going to try to build a multiracial democracy, equality, diversity has to be there at the center, and you have to fight for it day in, day out. And you look at the candidates. If Sarah Rodriguez, David Crowley, Francesca Hong, Kelda Royce, Missy Hughes, and no disrespect to Ryan Strand, but I don't think he's going to be there at I think this is a time to be serious.
Definitely.
And I mean, so yeah, but you brought him up, so.
Well, thank you, Mark.
but I think this is really, really crucial, and and so I'm going to weigh in because I've thought about it, and I decided, and just full disclosure, I'm in early for David Crowley, and here's the reason why. I thought David, as the county exec, had fought the hardest against the Republican attack on DEI when Voss and company came to Milwaukee County and the city. He protected diversity, equity, and inclusion on this in the state level much better than I thought the city did. And I wasn't privy to all of that, but his stand was right out front. I thought how he worked with counties outside of Milwaukee, northern counties, primarily white counties, red counties, on shared revenue and saying, look, the way the state has got it set up, it's rigged for the rich. There's plenty of money. If we allocated fairly, every community could have more money for public schools. Every community could have more local money. I think that was actual leadership on that issue and to develop relationships. Because when I go out there, and this is what, I'll get this from white folks. Well, can David win because he's a black guy, right?
Right.
And I mean, what we learned from, I think, from what, when Mandela ran for Senate is that there was an opening of white folks in the state to vote for a multiracial democracy.
I mean, Barack Obama wins Wisconsin twice.
Right, and he won
while putting Scott Walker in office and
straight up, and he won. And so you go back, and it's like Mandela lost because he didn't have the black vote at home, and it was like you can't do that. And I think David has the ability to unite and put that community together. And so
well, it is a question, though. I mean, a number of people have reached out. People always like, hey, what do you think? Soon as the announcement comes out, he's in earnest. The official announcement comes out. And the question becomes, do you think that because to date, we've had 2 African Americans win statewide election. I would argue that, in both cases, it was an interesting way in which they won. Vel Phillips as Secretary of State. Some people think they voting for a guy, instead of her full name being used, they actually think they're voting for a guy, and most likely a white guy. They didn't fully appreciate who Vel Phillips was when they were voting. And then in Mandela's case, on the Democratic side of the aisle, there were just 2 candidates that were vying for lieutenant governor, and once you beat out that candidate in the primary, then you basically are riding the coattails of the governor who wins or the candidate who wins the Democratic side in the primary into the general. Now you guys are hooked at the hip and you can ride on in. So it's not as hard of a pull, even from what Vel Phillips did. It's not as hard of a task. But even with that being said, when I had to go back and look at these candidates, I just started at from first announcement and worked my way back. I was real frustrated that Sarah Rodriguez, after only 9 months of being in the assembly, decided to run for lieutenant governor. She's somebody with a medical background. But in turn, trying to understand her priorities and what it is she cares about. And if I, as a person of color, can feel confident in her leadership, I hear the things I expect to hear from her. Talking about healthcare and COVID and those kinds of things. But where you are on DEI, even though I know she's married to a Hispanic Latino man, and a lot of people were confused. She's not Hispanic herself. Her husband is. But where are you on these issues? I haven't heard a ton that has made me feel comfortable in terms of these conversations. I'm gonna get her in here, see if we can get her in here to talk about it. But then even Senator Kelda Royce. Kelda is very vocal. You know where she stands on women's reproductive health. You know where she stands on education, on a lot of progressive ideas. One of my concerns about Kelda, who I prefaced my comments last week, I think Kelda is brilliant. I think she is extremely smart and extremely capable. But I think she is also perceived as so progressive, it will be hard to get things done. The Republicans see her as, further left of left than most Democrats. And so I think she will have a difficult time.
So I think talking about the governor's race in 2026, it's got to be a race for the trifecta.
And what do you mean by trifecta?
We have to win the Assembly and the Senate. We have to try. Okay, because you said it. If you have Voss and company, which represent the mega forces, being able to stop us.
Who said he's not running?
But,
but he has.
Let's just use him as a symbol.
Yeah, okay, but there are folks waiting that I think maybe even
right. And I mean, they're not going Eisenhower's way. Okay, there are not Republicans going out there to say we're going to go tax the wealthy at 90% so we can have a middle class. I mean, think about this: 1984, right? 1984, Reagan gave up the 70% tax on the wealthy, went to 28%. And from 1984 to date, now, the last virtually 50 years, it's an attack on middle class and working class and people of color. There is absolutely no hope for a multiracial democracy unless you take the wealthy and say, you have to pay your fair share. Okay?
All right, wait. Let's do this. I got to take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side, finish out this piece about the trifecta.
And then I'll get what?
Yes, it's time to get out of here. Yeah. But I think that these are some of the things that we have to ask people in this listening audience, people that are going to be making these decisions. What are you thinking about? What are you asking of these folks that are running for office? And what do they need to have in order to get your vote? Let me take a break, though. Michelle Bryant, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. We'll be right back, y'all.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much. This is Mark Thompson, Scales of Justice. I'll be back next month. I really, really enjoy this time. And look at, if you're out there and you are hurt, and if right now, if you get stopped and you think your constitutional rights were violated, remember, you can call me, you can call our office. We'll let you know whether we can help. Do not be afraid. This is a time in America not to be afraid. Right? If you're brown and you get arrested because they think, ICE, they can just grab you, call. The Constitution is still here, and there are still lawyers that will fight for you. Mark Thompson, Gingras Thompson and Wax, 414-310-3187. Thank you so much for having me. I will see you soon, Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. We do a hard stop just because of the demands of the job that he has. And so we will actually pick this conversation up again next month. I'm looking forward to it. Look, family, a number of other things are going on that we need to pay attention to. And let me just say this. Take it easy now. I'm looking at the screen. One of my favorite actresses, Diane Keaton, has passed away. And when I tell you, when you talk about fashion, look good in some clothes, one of the best dressed on-screen women. I don't know what she dressed like in her private life, but best dressed on-screen women I have ever seen. That white suit she had on in First Wives Club, it was iconic. She loved her pearls. I always think of LaToya Sykes when I see Diane Keaton, because she loved her pearls, put on pearls with a t-shirt and, a pop of white collar and some jeans, and just looked so good. She was a phenomenal actress, and I definitely have to tip my hat in respect. Can talk more about her on another day when I have time to actually put something together on her. But there are people you just grow up watching, and Diane Keaton was one of those people for me. This woman just absolutely phenomenal. And I'll extend that word sister to a whole bunch of people. But yeah, I was a huge Diane Keaton fan. So one of the things that we will do is begin to get these candidates in. I know I was listening last week, Friday, and I heard Lieutenant Governor Sarah Godlewski on Coral Show talking about, her candidacy, but also about all the different things that we can do to help ourselves as a community, the things we need to be focused on and paying attention to. These are the hard questions that we have to ask. It cannot be popularity contests, because we do that way too often, as opposed to looking at the record of people that are in front of us. I talked last week about, many of the phone calls that I was getting about the possibility that Mandela Barnes was waiting in the wings to get into the governor's race. One of the things I said then, I'll say it again. I believe that should that happen, we potentially will be looking at a Republican as the governor. And why do I say that? Because you split the black vote potentially between Mandela and David Crowley. The progressive vote is also split between Mandela, Kelda, and David Crowley. We just would literally parcel it out in such a way that you could potentially see both of those brothers get knocked out of the game, and then we'd be left with a Kelda Roy's. Somebody said they can't hear me on YouTube. I'm not sure why. We'll see if we can figure it out. Thank you for notifying us. But so we'll, try to figure out. Oh, it says it's back up, Jermaine. Okay, thank you. I appreciate y'all. But so that becomes the struggle, because you don't want to create a situation where you don't have either brother in, progressing through the primary, making it into the general election. And then if they don't, will we end up with a general election candidate that's strong enough to win the state? All of these things become factors. And so these are the difficult questions, strategic questions that we have to ask as a community as we begin to have people coming in, pitching themselves to us, figuring out which camp we're going to line up in. They said it was back up. Which camp they were, people are lining up in. It's tough. It is tough, and people's feelings get hurt, and folks are like, yeah, but you should be able to do what you want to. But as I would, when I talked to Tavis Smiley about Cornel West, y'all need to stop playing, because you're siphoning off votes that are needed to help keep this man out of office. And yes, do what you want to do in the primary. Mess around all you want to in the primary. But when it's time to get to that general election, we have got to be in lockstep on what we do, because the margin is so thin by which you can lose a race that you just don't have a lot of room to play. So when I talked to Janae and Najib, and I was like, hey, okay, y'all don't want to vote for Kamala in the primary. But when that general comes, all of this needs to be over, because you potentially are putting in place a roadmap for Trump to get elected. And that's exactly what's happened. And today, when we are watching all over the news, Trump be treated like the hero of the day, him and Benjamin Netanyahu ain't number two damn racists together. That's all they are to me. Two Klansmen standing at the podium celebrating each other. Because when I say I will never, never, never forget how disrespectful Benjamin Netanyahu was to Barack Obama when he came to this country, I will never forget that level of disrespect. Never, 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 under no circumstances will I forget that level of disrespect. Never. And to hear, that, oh my God, Trump is the Nobel Peace Prize person who should have been selected. He's the greatest thing since sliced cheese. You could have intervened a long time ago, and you didn't. You allowed this level of destruction to happen. Benjamin Netanyahu, this wasn't just about getting back these hostages. This was a golden opportunity to tear up freaking Gaza. That's what it was. And even in the coverage, a lot of news outlets, and the way Netanyahu was trying to frame it, was that you would not see anybody on the Hamas side, celebrating, or that the whole thing had come to an end, or any of that. You wouldn't see any of that. But of course, there are camera crews on the ground. They see Palestinians walking back into their areas, and everything is gone. Rubble. These people don't even have the equipment to get this stuff out. And then you got all these folks sitting around patting themselves on the back with Benjamin Netanyahu, Pete Hegseth with his ignorant behind, and Donald Trump. Oh, he was a young kid, and I knew he was going to be great. And, he's over this Department of War, and then goes into a diatribe about why we changed the name to the Department of War. And then Marco Rubio, who knows better, talked about Donald Trump like a dog when he was running against him. He knows better. What's going to be happen to all that land and property along the Gaza Strip? Jared Kushner and them sitting there talking about the damn condo developments and making it the Riviera, of the region. Where are these people going? And we bringing in flour to cook where? To store where? What pot, bowl, utensil do I have to do anything? 73 trucks got in yesterday, but we're going to try to get 600. We're going to get some gas apparatuses for these people to be able to cook. These people literally are going to be sleeping outside on rubble. And right now, they don't even have a tent to sleep in. I listened to the man say, I need to go to the bathroom. I ain't got nowhere to go to the bathroom. There is no running water. There is not a pot for me to even, relieve myself over. And I got one set of clothes, and that's the clothes I got on my back right now. I can't take a shower. I can't wash my tail. I can't change my clothes because I got one set of clothes. And up until a week ago, Israel was detaining, what's the little girl name? Greta them. Or I gotta say her name right. That was bringing in the relief supplies. They detained those people. Detained them. Their countries had to intervene. So the other part of this, and caller, here I come, is that some of it was being done to rush so that Donald Trump could be considered for the Nobel Peace Prize. That's the other sick side of some of this. Because he could have been intervened. He could have been big boyed. And, he had been working on all these nations coming together. They were doing what he wanted them to do anyway. Because money is a powerful negotiating tool. So now all of a sudden there's a sense of urgency because, Nobel Peace Prize considerations are coming out. Then this woman from Venezuela gets it, and the Nobel Peace Prize, and his White House attacks the decision to name her. I've never seen anybody do something with the intent of, I'm looking for an award as soon as it's done. So that then makes you question the sincerity of why you did what you did. And I'm telling you, he only wants a Nobel Peace Prize because Barack Obama got one. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
I'm well. Good morning, everyone in the studio. Michelle.
Yes.
My question is, okay, like I go vote. I vote every year. So, but I'm not so savvy, or I don't know about too much about politics. But when my mother was alive, she helped me do all that. But so how can I find out more on my own instead of going to a family member? Because I need to know more about everything myself. You know what I'm saying?
No, good. That's a great question. And first of all, let me just say you're not unique. Every family, for the most part, has those one or two few members who keep up with a lot of the political stuff. And
right.
I know we've got text threads where people say, okay, what we doing, who we voting for, and so that's not uncommon. So that don't let that be a thing, because that's not uncommon. But with the advent of technology, most of these people have websites, and they'll list their platform out, and they'll talk about, I support, education in this way. I believe in this, this, and this. And then you get to look at them, weigh them against one another, and make an informed decision. Okay, I see enough on Kelder Roy's website that I agree with, or I see enough on David Crowley's website that I agree with, and then go out and do some searches. Like, you got to understand what's important to you. So if healthcare is important to you, Google David Crowley's name and healthcare, and see if he's made any statements about Medicaid expansion, what he did when he was in the state assembly on healthcare. So you can help inform and educate yourself. Sitting there right on that very phone that you're using to call us right now, all the stuff is at your fingertips. Everything is at your fingertips.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. You guys have a great morning.
Yes, ma'am. You too. So I definitely wanted to make sure that people understand that it's incumbent upon us to be much more educated voters. Again, not popularity contests, but that we really understand who we are sending. And when Mandela ran for office, one of the things, and I did it right here on the air, to the point that Angela just made, when she said, how do I learn more about these candidates on my own? How do I become self-informed? I went to Mandela's website after almost a year of being in the race. And I went to his website on air in this studio and pulled it up. And it was not one single policy platform on his website. His website told me how to buy some coffee mugs and buy a Mandela t-shirt or some nonsense and where to send a donation. But almost a year into his campaign, there was not a single piece of policy on his website. And after I brought it up on this radio station, within 1 week, I think it was 1 week, it was like somebody vomited policy all over his webpage. Then here go, this where you at on this where you at on this where you at on this. But nearly a year into his running for U.S. Senate, I couldn't go to his website and find a single thing that he cared about and that was important to him on his website for a year. And then 1 week after me saying something about it on the radio, then all of a sudden his campaign got all this crap posted on his webpage. So that's what I'm telling people. Like, it can't just be popularity, who I hate, who I like. You got to know what people are going to do for you when they get in office. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not interested, even though I know how horrific Ron Johnson is. I'm not interested in paying people that ain't going to do nothing for me. I'm just not. I'm not there. So let me mention this too, and go back to this Israel and Trump situation right now. So everybody's over there. Somebody said, yeah, don't forget Jared Kushner over there skinning and grinning on the front row, him and Ivanka. No way to forget it. But the whole thing was so intentionally done, in my opinion, to be able to position him to be considered for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. So this is an international prize that is named after Alfred Nobel. And October 10th, they announced the winner, and it is Maria Corina Machado out of Venezuela. And this is a woman, though, who now I'm finding very interesting because she wins because of her fight for democracy and trying to make sure that they not being controlled by a dictatorship in Venezuela. But then she turns around and talks about how Donald Trump is such a great guy and supposedly has like dedicated her Nobel Prize to Donald Trump. So now you got me looking at her sideways like, well, hold on. If you about democracy and peace, how are you supporting Donald Trump? How are you saying, that you it doesn't jive for me. So now I got to go back and read more about this woman who was actually nominated, if I'm not mistaken, by Marco Rubio. Let that sink in. She was let me make sure I got that right. But she was nominated by a Republican for the Nobel Peace Prize. Who nominated Maria? Yeah. They said White House disapproves of her Nobel, but Rubio is a big supporter of hers. So I got to go back and look at all of this, and I'm gonna take a break real quick, and then we'll come back and finish out the rest of the show. And caller, I do see you, but now you sitting back, kind of questioning everything you see, and then Netanyahu tells Trump, "Oh, don't worry about it. We're going to give you Israel's highest award, and then the Nobel Prize will come too." But should you get an award when you're doing something just so you can get an award? Does that not speak to the sincerity of the work? They rushed this deal to be eligible in the timeline for consideration for this Nobel Peace Prize. Y'all, these people raggedy. These are some raggedy people. They have guttered up everything, sullied everything. I got to take a break. I'll be right back. Oh, so I just look, the folks on Facebook couldn't hear it, but we were playing Neil Roberson's song "Don't Let the Devil Ride." Y'all have got to go. If you are not familiar with this song, please listen to this song on YouTube and listen to the live performance when he has gospel legends sitting in the room with him while he is singing this song. But the idea, don't let the devil ride. Don't let the devil drive your car. When you let the devil ride, he'll take you too far. I'm like, boy, you can put Donald Trump picture all in the background on this song while it's playing. His face just need to be on the big screen.
He'll be doing a stupid movement
because you have seen these people take something intended for good, the Nobel Peace Prize, and turn it into a commodity, a transactional thing that to me now could potentially not be worth the award, the paper that is printed on. Because when you, and somebody said, Michelle, are you sure that Maria, the woman who won, said that Donald Trump, she was dedicating her award to Donald Trump? So let me just make it plain and clear for you. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado rang in her Nobel Peace Prize victory Friday by dedicating the award to the people of Venezuela fighting for freedom and President Donald Trump, who has publicly lobbied for the prize himself. And this is what she said, quote, "We are on the threshold of victory, and today more than ever, we count on President Trump, the people of the United States, the people of Latin America, and the democratic nations of the world as our principal allies to achieve freedom and democracy." But y'all, when you read about this woman, she actually is somebody that leans to the right. So she would be the equivalent of a Republican in this country, but she is more of a militarist and somebody who, while she talks about, yep, I want to see freedom, is this selection is questionable. You got to go read about this woman. So to the person who sent me the text, Michelle, are you sure? It came out of her own mouth, y'all. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Hey, that's what you just described is pretty alarming. For one, the period of time where they evaluate what a person's done, if there's no more, they're not going to have an additional, or could they have an additional recipient for 2025?
Wait, say that again now.
Could they picked this lady last week, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that it, or could there be more people picked for 2025, and therefore Trump slides in?
I think that you only get the one, but I'm looking it up real quick while you're making your point.
Okay, because I mean, if he wanted to win in 2025, probably should have been doing something prior to the selection date. So if now he's done something in 2025, could he be considered in 2026 for work that he did in 2025?
Definitely. So it looks like that, one prize can be shared by up to 3 people, but it looks like it's only done, annually. So it's not Nobel Peace Prize winner in the first quarter of the year, then in the latter half of the year. So yeah, more than so 3 people could have actually been named to get that one prize, but it only happens once in that year. So yeah, now they're setting him up for 2026.
Exactly. That's where I'm going. So now he's setting himself up for 2026. Everything these people get involved with, they just spoil it. They just taint everything.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I guess you need to see what happens between now and next fall, like a year from now, to see if he does anything else to either enhance his chances or, quite honestly, he'll do something stupid to blow it. So, how can you receive an award for doing good things when you're more likely to be remembered for what have you done for me lately, and it's likely to be negative?
No, absolutely. And like I said, though, I just was so just turned off by watching the whole thing in Netanyahu this morning, because it seems everything, I just can't imagine Barack Obama doing what he did back in '09 and then being named for the Nobel Peace Prize, to you out actively lobbying to get something. Like this is an Academy Award or a Grammy or, an Emmy, and you got people out actively lobbying for you, including you yourself, about what you should have got. So it's just it's real raggedy.
And this is Venezuela, right?
Yes.
I guess the question is, what's the political relationship between Venezuela and the United States right now with Trump being in the office? Because if that woman has decided to give him credit, there's something in it quite honestly, for her.
Oh, no, absolutely. And that's why I said now, you got to go back and really read more about her. But she definitely has voiced strong support for U.S. military actions in the Caribbean. So these people that's being killed in these boats, she's supporting that. And she has explicitly stated that the use of force might be necessary to overthrow the Maduro regime. So she is somebody that people believe that this is a degree of hypocrisy because they see her as a very violent and hawkish person in terms of politics, and she's not about peace. She's about you. And Trump said it in Israel this morning. What did you say? Netanyahu, peace through strength. That's just a nice little way of saying we will blow you to smithereens to get to our end goal. And so this is something that we are going to definitely have to pay attention to, that there are a lot of people now questioning why this woman got this award.
One other final point is, who is the selection committee? I mean, is it a consistent group or does it change from year to year? Because this doesn't seem to align with what this award is supposed to represent.
I will get that information for you and let you know.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. It is. Hang on. Committee. It is unnerving when you begin to pull back the layers on this. And like I said, without knowing anything about her, there is no way, if you about peace, you come out and tip your hat to Donald Trump. There's no way. There's no way. And the other thing, okay, so the selection committee for the Nobel Peace Prize is the Norwegian Nobel Committee, a 5-member body appointed by the Norwegian Parliament. The committee members are appointed to 6-year terms and cannot be serving members of the Norwegian Parliament. So this is who they are. So they're out of Norway. Recent members. They name all the members. It looks like there are 3 guys and 2 women that make up this committee. But yes, that's where they are when I did a quick cursory search. Okay. Don't have a lot of time left in the show today, but I definitely had to mention that because I'm appalled by the whole thing. And I also want to say it's funny that while he is somewhere getting patted on the back about his leadership, he tearing up this damn country. 4,200 people got a heads up on Friday that their jobs are going away. Okay? Trump has been trying to figure out how to prove that he and he alone gets to call the shots for this country. And so he is taking advantage of situations to be able to usurp. When he says, I am not going to be paying some people don't deserve to be paid. And then he begins to connect that to people's political affiliation, that we're looking at laying off people that may be more democratically leaning, people that don't align with our version of DEI. Like, you got to sit back and like, wait a minute, what are you saying? And you saying this out loud, that I, as an individual who lives in the United States of America, does not have the right personally to support Democrats or have a different political ideology than you. So I can't work for the federal government if I am not in lockstep with whatever it is that Donald Trump believes. So understand that as we are in, what is this, day 10 into this shutdown, you keep hearing people saying on the news, there's no end in sight. There's no end in sight. Some of this is real, as JD Vance comes out and threatens that there will be even more layoffs. But Donald Trump has figured out a way to usurp paying people by saying, while we're in the midst of this shutdown, you're going to be permanently laid off. 4,200 people get these notifications. Now, they're not let go immediately because they have to get 60 days notice that they're being let go. But then I don't have to pay you. Then I don't have to bring you back. So the Department of Education, they had already lost a third of their staff under Elon Musk and the silly Doge cuts. Donald Trump went in on Friday and took 20% more of the 2/3 that was left and gave them notification that you're losing your job. And this has happened in a bunch of areas that he thinks is important to Democrats. So this is not about government efficiency. This is not about making sure that we can, have the budget work for us, and we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're downsizing, right sizing. This is about doing harm. You all won't come to the table. You all won't play ball and do exactly what we do. Bend over when we say bend, jump when we say jump. Then we're going to hurt people that support your constituents that support you. And that's what's happening. That is what's happening. So they are literally talking about, and you say this out loud, we're not going to pay certain people. So when people say, well, then I'm going to call in sick. Because if I have no guarantee of being paid, why am I coming to work every day? And then this is a law he created, or not created, but he signed off on during the last shutdown. But leave it to Donald Trump, Mr. Litigious. How can I find the loophole and sue my way out of a contractual responsibility? How can I, figure out a way to stiff people on the bill, not pay people? This is exactly what he has done. And then there was something that Stephen Miller said in an interview on a TV show over the past week that people need to pay attention to. Okay? Let me just flag this real quick. Stephen Miller, who is the deputy chief of staff and the white supremacist supreme in the Trump administration, has said in this interview on CNN's News Central, he said this last week, that the president, Donald Trump, has plenary authority to deploy National Guard troops to U.S. cities. Now, Chicago, they filed suit to stop him. He's temporarily been stopped. But the other thing Donald Trump is doing is he is buying up buildings in area, because real estate is his thing. So when Chicago says you can't use a school parking lot for staging, you can't use any city property for staging for your ICE agents to then be able to go in and put people in vans and all this kind of U-Hauls, Trump is saying, okay, not a problem. We'll buy our own property. We'll buy our own warehouses and we'll stage on our own property. And so that's what you see them doing. So in Milwaukee right now, they're leasing. MSOE, again, why is MSOE, leasing buildings to ICE? But anyway, makes you wonder about the school leadership and what y'all support. But we'll just buy up our own buildings. So he is constantly looking for the loophole and the way to get around whatever people are doing to try to protect themselves. So that plenary authority, I need y'all to pay attention to this word. So when he is talking to this interviewer, this is what Stephen Miller says. The president has plenary authority. And he was talking about this again in deploying federal troops to Oregon, despite a judge blocking the move. And then at some moment, he must have thought about what he was saying out loud, and he went silent. He went silent. He was talking to CNN's Boris Sanchez, and he went silent about it. He didn't continue on that train of thought, and he didn't comment any further. And then CNN said that there had been technical difficulties, but everybody that was watching it said, no, ma'am, that's not what happened. Stephen Miller, running his mouth, let the cat out of the bag. So while some people will say it's unclear about what he meant by plenary authority, okay, district attorneys have told, Newsweek and people trying to follow up on, when you hear that phrase used, it means complete and absolute power. Plenary authority means complete and absolute power in the usual sense of understanding. And what they have gone on to say is that the president of the United States does not have complete and absolute power. We are supposed to have checks and balances, but Congress under Republican control is not doing their damn job. They are letting this man claw back money that was allocated under another president and that they agreed to, and in some cases it was bipartisan. They are not doing their job. But what the White House and Donald Trump and his supporters have been trying to do is figure out, what did he say? Okay, if the courts say I can't bring the National Guard into Illinois under this pretense, then I'm going to say it's an insurrection. And there's nothing that the courts can do to stop me from employing the Insurrection Act. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle. It's John. How you doing?
I'm good, John. How are you this morning?
Good. I know you don't have much time. On the thing with President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu, first of all, I never heard President Obama say a single word about Arab Empire or the Palestine Arab self-defined vanguard of Arabs. Never once in any speech, and you know I would have paid attention to it. Did you ever hear him say anything like what I just said?
I can barely hear you. You're a little muffled. Could you say one more time what you didn't hear Obama say something about?
Never heard him say anything about the Arab Empire over all of North Africa and the Palestine Arab vanguard of that. Have you ever heard him say anything even remotely similar to what I said?
If I have to think about it off the top of my head, I don't off the top of my head now.
Yeah. So there's a fundamental. Secondly, the Ku Klux Klan hates Netanyahu, and you just called him a Klansman a minute ago. Now, did President Obama ever say anything about helping any of the victims under Arabism, which Palestinian Arabs call themselves the vanguard of Arabs?
Again, at this moment, I can't recall or speak to that.
But he did say Israel should have surrender a certain amount of land to these very same Palestinian Arabs who are the vanguard of Arabism.
He believed in a two-state solution. He did.
Which would be a second Arab state because there already is Jordan.
No. I mean, we can't keep skirting past the fact that Israel was given this land in the 40s, and it was land that was not theirs. They moved people. They moved people. There was a decision made to move another group of people off of their land and give Israel their land. You just can't skirt past that.
That was not the decision.
That was the decision. How did Israel get to be where they are right now? How did that happen?
The decision was supposed to be where they lived side by side.
I didn't ask what was supposed to be. How did Israel get control of the land that they are on right now? How did they get it?
They moved there, and they.
How did they get it? Don't skirt. Don't play. You better than that. Don't say that they moved. Don't say that they moved there. Don't say that they moved. Don't say that they moved there. How did they get the land, John?
They got approved of by the League of Nations.
Not approved, not moved. That land was taken from one group of people and given to Israel. And people act like
It was not
you
taken
come
away.
in, and were people living
You
there?
need to hear the other point of view. Do you even know the other point of view?
Were people living there, John? When
Of course there was people living
decision,
there.
and so then if I'm living someplace, and then you decide, Michelle, we're displacing you, we're taking where you're living.
It did not say that.
Well, John, how do we get the Gaza Strip then? How do we get that?
What say?
How do we get the Gaza Strip?
How
do we get all of these millions of Palestinians confined to a narrow, John, how do we get all these Palestinian people confined to this narrow strip of land? How does that happen?
Okay,
yeah, that's the way I feel. That's the way I feel. Okay, and look, I don't hang on, John, because it's 8:54 and I can't do it right now. But you're welcome to call me tomorrow, and we can do some of this tomorrow. But what we're not gonna do is use these words that soften up what was done to an extent. They moved in, they were approved. All that's nonsense. There's a way to talk about this honestly, and we're going to do that. Thank you for the call, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow. So, no, you cannot talk about people being confined to this narrow area. You know, one of the listeners just tapped in and said encroachment. You got to talk about how we get to where we are. And I'm going to say this, and people not going to like it. If you watching these Palestinian people go back home, and they are seeing the level of destruction that happened to that little slither of land that they had, that they were living on. If you don't believe for 5 minutes that you are going to be growing people who are going to pay Israel back for this, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. As people are returning and they're saying, oh my God, I didn't expect that everything would be gone. This is not over. This is not over by a long shot. All the rejoicing, it's not over. I got to go, y'all. This show has been a long day today. We'll pick up a lot of topics tomorrow, talk about the shutdown. Nearly 400,000 Black women now are unemployed. Thank you, Donald Trump. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But for now, thank you to my bros, my colleagues in the studio and family. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.